Welcome to New Mexico Black Rifle Operators Union. I'm your host, Sean. Um, so, let me give you some tips from a Rocky Mountain big game hunter that actually made his first outing duck hunting this weekend. Now, I don't have a lot of shotguns. So, why don't I have a lot of shotguns? Number one, I've always been taught to be a rifleman. That's what my dad wanted us to be. Me and my brothers. And to be a rifleman meant one shot, one kill, to be humane. Now, fast forward after I left the house, I bought a shotgun because, my friends think they're pretty cool. And they are. So I bought a Mossberg 500 because it was in my price range and it came with all the bells and whistles I needed for a defensive shotgun, at least I thought. Now, fast forward, that Mossberg, the 500 specifically, is one of the most adaptable shotguns on planet Earth, it and the Remington 870. Now, what's cool about this is I have two of these now. I have the Maverick 88 and I have a Mossberg 500. Apart from some minor differences, the Mossberg 88 has a crossbolt safety and a plastic trigger guard with some other little minor things there. Where the Mossberg 500 is pretty much all metal. There's some plastic pieces there too. Nothing that's a wear item. Okay. So, I go duck hunting. Mostly because my friend who's a fan of the show, he's been inviting me to do this for a while. And because of the stuff that's been going on with my personal life, I haven't really felt like being out and about with people. Well, he invited me to go duck hunting. I'd never done it before. And I thought, why the hell not? So he took me to a private place where you needed landowner permission, which we got. It was his brother-in-law's mom and dad's. Now, we had several duck flyover flocks, I guess is what you call them. I'm still learning about duck hunting, guys. And there were 3 times I could have easily gotten more than one shot and probably got my bird had I been more experienced. Now, that leads me to this conversation. I have this 28-inch barrel for my Mossberg. I bought it with turkey in mind. But with the right choke and the right person, it's more than capable of taking a duck. Now, what's interesting is, for the longest time, I've always thought the Mossbergs were horribly bad at recoil. And that's how I've always saw shotguns. Now, the barrel I have is a 28-inch barrel, but mine's ported. And that's what led me to want to talk about it today. Is it made my shotgun pleasant to shoot. Now, if you have one of those collapsible stocks for like a Maverick or a Mossberg, because you made it tactical, I have one of those that is all kinds of tactical. They're not very comfortable to shoot, mostly because of the recoil. What I noticed was when I shot, like naturally when I'm trying to shoot at an animal, the gun was pleasant to shoot. I don't remember feeling the huge heavy recoil. Maybe that's a 28-inch barrel, maybe that's the porting, maybe it's just how it finally smoothed out. I don't know. All I know is that there is some secret sauce in this. And having seen some of the more expensive shotguns that my friend had, and seeing his equivalent, which would be the Remington 870, I think I would choose a Mossberg 9 out of 10 times. And let me explain why. Number one, it's known. The Mossberg 500 and the 590 series has been used by militaries around the world and law enforcement around the world. There's a reason why this has been in production for a long, long time. Okay, this design, it's reliable. The gun is weight-wise was very light compared to the others. That's kind of why I was expecting heavy recoil, which I didn't get. The next thing I noticed was that, yeah, I don't have a 3.5 inch chamber, but a 3 inch chamber works perfect for ducks. I didn't get a duck because this is my first outing and I'm trying to learn how to do this thing. A 13-year-old shot one, and he shot one with an older Mossberg, I believe, or or older Remington. There's only one person that was there that was hunting with something like brand new whiz bang lightweight stuff, and I was impressed by it. They did very well, but I was actually very impressed with just my old Mossberg 500. You know, this gun sits in the closet because I've never been a huge shotgun fan. More so because I've never been a bird hunter. Now, learning to try to go after these birds, to try to get out, be more assertive, and, you know, maybe fill some of my freezer a little bit, I realized that I enjoyed this and that there is a lot more to the 12 gauge than meets the eye. So this barrel that I'm showing you is mostly just for show, because mine is actually ported. And I don't see one. They have them for different calibers, different guns. That's what I was going to talk to you about. It's interesting that the 12 gauge has as many changeable parts, especially the Mossberg 500. If you wanted to customize a gun to every bit of your needs, whether you deer hunt with one of these, which up until I went shooting for these guys, I had no idea that you would want to use this for deer hunting. But with a slug, it's viable. I could see 200-yard shots, no problem, right? Okay. Shooting at game birds with a gun that I obviously thought was out of, all the other guys that were using semi-automatic shotguns. Mossberg's been used for years for multiple things. Mine's a pump shotgun. Now, I want a semi-automatic one just because they're tacky cool, but I will admit that if I could find an 18-inch barrel that was ported to make it as pleasant shooting as it was duck hunting, I think I would want to use this as my bedside gun. Now, I've understood for a long time that a shotgun it ends a fight very well. That's one of the reasons why I got into shotguns. I didn't realize the level of variance in loads. You can hunt rabbits, you can hunt deer, you can hunt anything with a shotgun. You may have to be closer because it doesn't have as much velocity, but it's very capable at doing what it needs to do. And this is why this gun has been around as long as it has. The 12 gauge is not obsolete by any means. I feel a little more confident that if you have a tube-fed shotgun, even a semi-automatic, it's probably pretty badass. Having a magazine-fed shotgun to me seems still very dubious, and that's because there is a rim on the back of the 12-gauge shotgun. That means that it's not going to sit correctly in a magazine to feed correctly. Just some random thoughts I've had about the Mossberg 500 after going out duck hunting. One of the things I learned first off is it's a hell of a lot colder by a river or a stream than it is even in the high countries when you're hunting, deer and elk. Okay. The other thing I noticed is calling them in is dramatically different compared to what you would do to a draw on an elk. You set up decoys in patterns to kind of invite the birds to come in. All right. Now you're fighting an animal, or not fighting, you're hunting an animal that can see in color. So it doesn't make sense to just be, wearing blaze orange out and about as much as you can we hid, I don't say we hid, we sat behind a duck blind. Okay? Now, it makes sense because from, 20,000 feet or 10,000 feet or however high the ducks are, they're not going to see just people milling around the bank of this waterway. They're just going to see scrub, and that's what you want. When you call them in, you're just letting them know that these ducks are in the water where it's safe here, basically. Now, I had been wanting to know if there were multiple rules. And that's why I'm like everyone else, or like I tell everyone else, I went and found a mentor, someone who's done this before I did it. And what did I find out? That most of the stuff I learned from hunting mule deer and Rocky Mountain big game translates very well, up to you starting to lead animals. Now, you can pattern your shotgun. I pattern my shotgun. If you don't know, that's supposed to be as close to sighting it in as you're ever going to get, because you're shooting a pattern, right? It's not going to be a single slug unless you're deer hunting. Then there's a single slug. So I patterned it to see what kind of pattern it cast when I shoot at these ducks. What did I find? Same as everybody else. What's the only frustrating thing I found is that I can see ducks at a hell of a lot farther range than I can actually engage them in. And why does that piss you off if you're a mule deer or an elk hunter? Is if I can see it, I can usually engage them with a rifle. The shotgun just doesn't have the ballistic potential to reach those ranges. So what do? We fix it. We learn the right way to shoot. We learn the right way to wait. We wait for them to talk to us. We wait for them to show us when to engage in taking our animals. It was nice having a 13-year-old young man to kind of guide me. His uncle is one of my best friends, and I've known him forever. I'm a friend of their family. So it was interesting seeing him. And the 13-year-old was actually a, quote, bird dog to get the ducks we shot. So it was a great first effort to go out. I think there was only one duck killed, mostly because the guys taking us to hunt spent more time showing those of us that don't know how to hunt this animal, how to hunt the animal and how to be successful. What does that mean? Next time I'll probably get to bring home a duck or two. In the state of New Mexico, we're allowed, I believe, 7 per day. I don't want that many. I'd like to be able to get enough to add some to my freezer, because I'd like to add it to the holiday meal. There's also the potential that I found from these guys that I may be able to hunt on some private property for some fall turkey. So there's a potential that I may be able to get a turkey in addition to that. Now, if you've ever watched a show like Meat Eater, that's where that type of thing comes into play. I'm kind of a fan of that type of thing, so that's what I want to do. Anyway, I've babbled on enough. I would say buying one of those kits with the 2 barrels is probably a hell of a lot more viable than I ever gave it options for. And if you're interested in duck hunting and defending your home, and you can only afford one gun, this may be it. For under $300, right around there, you can get a gun to put food on the table and defend your home in a very decisive fashion. There is nothing wrong with that. I'll take that all day, every day. Rumble, share, subscribe, be great.